Hi, welcome. We are here saying hello from Algonquin Chapter. So we started something new in this Corona season. So we like to bring you interesting events, interesting people. So what we think about maybe to introduce you some of interesting members which have really good engineering career, lot of experience, and try to bring to you guys so we can start some communication. I hope that this pilot program will give some good results. And for now, we are introducing our member, Vincent Donato, who is now currently retired, but he have a lot of nice engineering stories to tell us. Hi, this is our really good member, Vincent Donato. He have a lot of really excellent career all around the world. One country was not enough to hold him, so I let him to speak.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bob. Yeah, it's very interesting about engineering and the engineering profession because the general public typically hears about engineers only when there's a disaster, whether it's Elliott Lake or a bridge has gone raised a little higher than it should be, etc., or there's some other kind of disaster. But yet, engineers are involved in just about everything around that requires any technology, whether it be medical stuff, medical equipment, transportation equipment, power equipment, you name it, engineers are involved in it. And usually most of that stuff typically works. I would say that probably 99.9999% of those materials and construction projects, etc., typically work. But I think that, like I said, the only time we hear about engineering stuff is when we get the occasional failure, which, as in everything, there's bound to be the occasional failure, especially since in many cases we're pushing the envelope, whether it's in space or in transportation, whether it's a Hyperloop or SpaceX or some other type of projects. Yeah, now you were mentioning about my career. Yeah, I guess, and the many countries that I visited. Yeah, I've been to quite a few countries, starting with my engineering degree in the US, and then started working, I guess a couple of years later. After graduation, I went and did a master's in architecture and at the University of Manitoba, and then from there went back to engineering. And yeah, pretty well have traveled since then. So during that time, I've pretty well been working just about every province throughout Canada as a consultant predominantly, including into the Arctic, and projects in the US. Probably did projects in the US in over 25 different states, and Jamaica, Venezuela, Russia, South Africa, Europe. Yeah, I've been quite a few places, and a lot of interesting projects.
I will just jump in. Maybe, Vincent, you can easier just to tell to our viewers in which countries you have not been involved.
I haven't been involved in China or Japan or South Korea, and probably about another 190 countries around the world, or Australia. But yeah, not because I didn't want to go there, but I just didn't have the opportunity. And over the, I guess, how many years? About 40 years, my engineering career has taken me to a few different countries, and most of them I haven't been to, but I visited some of them, and they're quite enjoyable nevertheless.
Now for you guys, you just need to vote and tell us for which country experience Vincent will start next. Now, thanks for all of your viewers. After we tallied all of your vote, it was really tie battle, but we decided to start with South Africa.
South Africa. I guess I started off there back in 2003, going on a CETA funded project, which was supposed to be 3 years, and it was to basically introduce the, I guess, climate change to South Africa government, industry, and help the South African government start implementing both their policy on energy, as well as to help them with the clean development mechanism. which was a component of the Kyoto Protocol, and it was aimed, or say focused, on helping the non-Annex 1 countries, predominantly third world countries, to implement greenhouse gas reduction projects and get credit for it. And these credits would be like any commodity that they could sell on the open market. And I was involved in quite a few of those projects and saved a few greenhouse gases. Yeah, we helped the South African government come up with their first white paper on energy and energy policy back in late 2004, and then helped them set up the National Advisory Board that reviewed any CDM or Clean Development Mechanism type projects, which had to be generated, approved by the United Nations, and then implemented, type of thing. So these projects, yeah, so I was involved subsequently on a number of these projects.
I presume the biggest challenge was the reduced amount of coal they use and then switch to another energy, or what was most challenging?
Well, they do use a lot of coal. I mean, the coal is quite plentiful there, and the main utility, they use quite a bit of coal for predominantly their electricity generation. I would say that roughly 90% of the electricity generation is through coal. There is some hydropower that is brought in from Mozambique, and there is now some, well, I guess nuclear power from a reactor in near and outside of Cape Town. And the reactor went there predominantly because all the coal mining is done primarily around the, I guess between Witbank and Durban, and it's quite a ways to transport the coal from there, probably about 1,600 kilometers. So the nuclear power plant went there. But like I said, most of the power is from coal. And over, I guess since about 2010, the government has started promoting renewable energy, and primarily biomass, windmills, solar, and solar, both the thermal solar as well as the photovoltaics. And I was instrumental in helping one company install a 60 megawatt thermal solar collector system, which is basically concentrating mirrors to concentrate the heat onto a central pinnacle, whereby we heated water to generate steam, and we also had to provide 4-hour standby power for nighttime use, because peak power there lasts till about 10 o'clock at night when the sun is down. Yeah, for Polar Industries, I worked through another subconsultant there, and well, basically they were the prime consultant, and I was just the specialist consultant on the brewing industry. And I had gained my experience in the brewing industry working for John Labatt Corporation, and also working for Molson Breweries. So yeah, the project in South Africa, or rather in Venezuela, involved predominantly Caracas and Maracaibo and one other, Malaga. Yeah, they have breweries in all these places, and we did projects through them. So I was, just as I say, a specialist consultant. But it was an interesting country, and for meat eaters, it would be like a meat eater's paradise. Yeah, okay.
Hi Vince, thanks a lot. It's really nice to hear that you have done a lot of work in brewing industry. So I think especially in Canada we are proud of our beers all around the world. In your opinion, what can you tell, and you see how the people like the beer is universal love is all around the world? So you can tell us maybe around some brands, maybe just exclude Corona for now, and we know why.
Yeah, I guess we will exclude Corona, since I haven't done any work in Mexico. I guess I have no loyalty to to that beer. But yeah, I've worked on breweries in the U.S. and Jamaica and Canada, of course, Europe, and even in Russia. And I got to know some of the beers. And but in terms of what is the best beer, I guess I'd have to say that it's whatever you like. They all have different tastes and slightly different, I guess, flavoring, etc. And I'm not so much enamored with all the flavored beers that they've come up with through all these microbreweries, but the standard beer, I guess I prefer some Czech beers and some German beers and even British beers, and there's a few Canadian beers that I'm particular to as well. And so it's quite an interesting array of beers, but predominantly you'll find that around the world it's mostly lager that is being brewed. But I was quite surprised when I was in Russia, because what the project there entailed was looking at 3 breweries that an American buyer wanted to buy. So we were doing due diligence on the breweries there. So we were traveling from Moscow to Kaliningrad, Novotroysk, and Havarash. And there, I remember one particular case, we arrived after about an 11-hour flight from Moscow and 9-hour time change. Arrived there around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and our host there had a little care package for us, which included a bottle of beer. Only this bottle of beer was 2 liters big, plus a few other odds and ends to welcome us to his, basically to his city and to his brewery. But it was quite interesting. And they were in the process of converting all their bottling facilities into 2-liter bottling capacities, so that I guess people there buy beer and they buy it in 2-liter bottles and then serve it over dinner to the whole family type of thing. I guess much like Italians and French serve wine, or the English used to serve milk, I guess, in the same way. So it's not surprising, I guess.
I think one of the benefits working in brewing industry, if your customer run out of money, he can always pay you in beer, or it's not so easy.
Well, I guess if you got paid in beer, carrying it around would be a bit of a problem. And given that even our own provincial governments only allow you to carry a case of 12 across the border, it would be difficult. So I guess when you came over from Pembroke to my place in Sheenboro, I guess you could bring over a case of 12, or alternately buy it here because it's a little bit cheaper, and take over a case of 12 across the border. So yeah.
Now, Vince, everybody is really concerned with global warming, so we would like to see you, have you dealt anything with that, especially we heard that you get some projects in Arctic.
Well, the project in the Arctic was a little different than related to greenhouse gases, but I did do quite a few projects in Africa to help industry reduce their greenhouse gases, and in effect probably saved, I would say, over 1 million tons of greenhouse gases a year through projects that we implemented at fertilizer facilities, brewing facilities, and other industry like painting industry, tire industry, etc., as well as the cement industry, which probably unbeknownst to a lot of people, the cement industry, aside from the greenhouse gases generated from the fuel burned to basically generate a temperature of 2400 degrees Fahrenheit and provide the slag, which is in turn ground up into cement. Because they're calcifying limestone, that generates for every kilogram or every pound of clinker that is produced, it generates about 5 to 5.5 pounds of CO2. So the cement industry does quite a bit, and we were quite helpful in helping the cement industry, both in Mozambique as well as South Africa. But yeah, I guess one of my most challenging projects, not related to greenhouse gases, was in the Arctic, where through NRC, and goes back mid-'80s, NRC retained Dillon Engineering, for which company I was working at that time. And I should say that I spent most of my life, about 40 years in consulting. I spent roughly 35 as a consultant, and 5 years working for John Labatt's as one of their 3 regional engineers responsible for all their 96 plants across North America and Europe. But in the Arctic, we had a very interesting project, which was to help the local power plant become more energy efficient. And as you probably know, a lot of these remote areas have diesel generators, and flying diesel fuel into the Arctic, and in this particular case it was Cambridge Bay, can be extremely expensive. And oftentimes they just barge it in during the summer and hope it carries them through during the winter, because otherwise it's a bloody fortune. A liter of diesel fuel at that time was costing us some like, and this is mid-'80s, remember, around $2.50 per liter to get into the Arctic. And so we had to monitor these 3 1,200 kilowatt diesel generators and determine and implement means of how to make them more energy efficient. And one of the things that, so we put in a lot of sensors on it, and given that it was the mid-'80s, computers were just coming in, and we were fortunate enough to hook up through telephone lines to download all the information from Cambridge Bay all the way down to our office in London, Ontario, and then analyze the data to see how the diesel generators were performing and what their thermal conversion efficiency was, et cetera, et cetera. And we found that it ranged anywhere from 5-6% thermal efficiency all the way to about 35% thermal efficiency. The rest of it was basically giving off as heat. So we thought, hey, why not recover that heat? And we designed the system to recover that heat from the cooling water system, and then use that heat for a central district heating system to heat things like the local nursing station, RCMP station, the local trading outpost, and in cases where they had schools, the local schools. So the government was very pleased with that, and then asked us to see if we can apply the same kind of technology at different places throughout northern Canada and the Arctic. And well, we did the conceptual work on about 50 other communities, and it was a pretty interesting project, and quite challenging because of the fact that we were monitoring the operation of these diesel generators by taking data every 3 seconds at over 36 different data points. So we can calculate the fuel going in, the temperature of the fuel going in, the energy output, the stack temperature, the jacket water temperature in and out, the ambient water, the ambient temperature, and all these other parameters. And without computers, we wouldn't have been able to do it, short of taking years to analyze all that data. But fortunately, we did get a first PC, a little IBM, for about $5,000, and we're able to analyze that data and produce a very effective project, which helped the government to implement some of these systems elsewhere.
Oh, Vince, thanks a lot. Looks like we really find why all of these glaciers are melting now in Arctic, or maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, that's got to be it. You know, maybe they got a little haywire with the district heating system, or maybe just too much smoke up there.
So, friends, we are coming to the end of our session today, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank Vincent very much for hosting us at this delightful property. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before in my life, actually, even in Canada. This is a nice place, and you know, the funny thing is,
Thank you, Udita.
it reminds us of all the good things that make up Canada, the bounty and the natural wonder and the clean water and so on and so forth. So it was a great opportunity.
No, that's quite true, because it's something that we as Canadians haven't really appreciated what we have in this country. In most cases, I mean, we'll go off shore to whether it's Florida or Mexico or Costa Rica, etc., and we find wonderful places there, and there are wonderful places there. But Canada has beautiful nature. They have, places that are incomparable in terms of the natural beauty that we have here. Yeah, we also have the big cities, and we have the attractions of the big cities, whether it be in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, etc. But we have a natural beauty that is certainly unsurpassed anywhere. And I've been in many different parts of the world, on virtually 6 continents. Haven't been to Antarctica, but maybe someday, who knows. But the other thing too, I just wanted to just mention is that my career has been a very varied one, starting off in the automotive sector and sort of going from there, working in many different industries, food industry, the beverage industry, whether it was bottled water, the dairy, the brewing, the energy sector, all the way from solar collectors, thermal, photovoltaics, windmills, heat pumps, cogeneration systems, to water and wastewater treatment facilities, and including climate change projects. So it's been a very wonderful career that I've had, and I know that the field of engineering is more and more, specializations, because there's so much knowledge in each field that we need to specialize. But there's still room for generalists, and a lot of opportunities, regardless of the field that you graduate in, that there's still a lot of opportunities in varied fields. And who knows what the future will bring, whether it's more Hyperloop or SpaceX or electric cars or new means of communication, etc. It's a wonderful, wonderful world, and engineers are helping to make it, certainly a better place for us to live in.
Exactly. It's an exciting time for the young people to be entering the career, the profession, I mean. So all you young guys and girls out there, it's a good field to be in. Let's hope to see you all in the near future, most of you anyway. We need other professions too. But engineering is certainly one of those things that should be at the top of your mind. It's an exciting time to be in the profession. Thank you again.
You're very welcome, and Bob. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for hosting us
You're
here.
welcome. Yeah, it was my pleasure, and now you know what retirement's all about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Something
some
to think
people,
about.
will go for their retirement in the sun. I instead chose to buy a farm and enjoy the wilderness of the farm.
Yeah. 75 acres and a lake was what I always was thinking. Maybe there's still hope for me.
Oh, so as long as we're alive, there's still hope,
Yes.
no matter what.
Yeah, especially it was nice to see how you are having natural engineers like beavers around.
Oh, yeah, and they build incessantly, non-stop, and they do most of the building at night, and it's pretty darn effective.
Yes.
Yeah, they've basically blocked a couple of my lakes, and yeah, it took a lot of work, but finally, I think we were ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks
Thanks.
again, and thanks for watching, folks. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for
Please put some comments. How do you like this, our pilot project, and maybe what else you will like to see? We will wait anxiously to read your comments.
now. Bye for now.